pretty sure we know each other, but my name is Mary Newman, and I am the head of school at the Sharon Academy, and I'm over the moon thrilled to welcome you here. We have a couple of things we need to do right away. First of all, ground rules. You can totally get up and go to the bathroom and get a drink and get food during these remarks. Yes? Please feel free to do that. The very first order of business we have is to actually cut the ribbon, which is more challenging logistically than you would think. So, later on, I will formally introduce Ava and Owen. But tonight, Ava and Owen, our two students, are going to hold the ribbon, and Tanya Swett, the president of the Board of Trustees, and I are going to cut it. Are you ready? Ready. Okay.
Giant scissors.
I don't know. I think it's a whole ceremony. It was blocking the door there, so it's kind of them break
All about the photo. Line it up there, Owen. Thank you for the applause and support. Welcome again. It is really tremendous. Oh, I keep seeing people I haven't seen yet. It is so wonderful to have you all here for this really tremendous event that, like I said, I'm vibrating with excitement about, especially on this warm-ish, spring-ish Friday afternoon, evening. There are so many people here tonight who have been instrumental in the founding and flourishing of this incredible place. People without whom truly TSA would not exist or be the wonderful, welcoming, creative, hard-working school it is on this warmish, springish Friday afternoon. So I'm just going to give you a sense of this program, and then we'll turn it over to others. As your programs show, so if you don't have a little program, there are plenty around, so you can follow along. You're going to hear from a variety of people, some of whom have been steeped in this particular building project for a long time, and some of whom have known relatively little about the project, but are now spending the better parts of their days in this brand new space. You'll have a chance to ask questions at the very end, and then we really hope that you will stick around to explore more of the space, eat more food, have more drinks, and connect with each other and me. There are lots of you I haven't had a chance to say hello to yet. We also strongly encourage you to find the posters that are around the space that look a little bit like that one, to both read some ideas for what we hope and dream will happen in this space, but also to collect your ideas and hopes and dreams about what could happen here. Because as you will hear throughout the course of our remarks, it is incredibly important to us that this space be a space beyond the TSA community, and that we make connections and do our amazing work with more than just the immediate TSA family. So please do not be shy to write down ideas for what could happen here and connections with whom those things could happen. On the posters, there should be markers also. Okay, so now I'm going to formally introduce my ribbon-cutting partner, our amazing president of the Sharon Academy Board of Trustees, Tanya Swett.
So I just want to start by echoing Mary's welcome. I'm so lucky to work with her. It is incredibly moving to see all of you here in this space. You want me to change this? Thank you, Andrew. I'll follow the directions. Does that work? Is that good? Okay. It's incredibly moving to see all of you here in this space, which for many of us who have been involved in this project for years, felt more than once like a moment that might never arrive. But here we are, celebrating a monumental completion, which really does feel huge, as well as the start of something significant. This truly is a moment of exciting beginnings, as we imagine what is possible in this space. As Mary said, you will hear a lot about that tonight. And we want you to be part of that envisioning and dreaming of what can happen here. You'll also hear some recurring themes in the various remarks tonight that are deeply rooted parts of TSA's culture. Creativity, frugality, flexibility, intentionality, and most importantly, relationships. Please listen for those themes, those times when creativity and frugality made the seemingly impossible possible, when flexibility and intentionality have shaped decisions in service of what truly makes sense, and when real, authentic relationships, not superficial ones, are built over time and endure. It is those deep relationships that have made and continue to make so much of what happens at TSA not only possible, but filled with commitment and connection and heart. So I invite you to listen for the stories that illustrate that creativity, frugality, flexibility, intentionality, and connection. You'll hear them in the voices of our speakers and our students throughout the course of the program. And on behalf of the entire TSA board, a lot of us are here tonight, and many of us have children who have long departed from TSA, but we continue to choose to spend our time working on behalf of this very special school. Thank you from all of us, from the bottom of our hearts, to each one of you for being here. Yeah.
Okay, you're all exactly like the students and you avoid the front row. There's a lot of you standing. Just come and thank you, Rick. I thought I could just okay. Yes. This next person, many of you know very well. Michael Livingston is my predecessor, TSA's second head of school, who was, of course, absolutely critical in the vision and design of this building. So I turn it over to you, Michael.
You know how the troublemaker kids always say, right? No, you're keeping an eye on them. Thank you all so much for coming today. It is truly an honor to share this space with all of you. I have some short remarks, but I think I'm going to start with something a little bit different, just because Andrew would anticipate that. I would like our founding head of school to stand up so we can recognize you. We can stand up here for 45 minutes and just begin to regale you with Judy Moore stories. Creativity, flexibility, frugality. It's amazing to think of what she envisioned and accomplished. More than 2/3 of schools that start up fail within the first 3 years. So it takes something special to imagine a place like this and then to see it through. So Judy, we're here because of the work that you did so many years ago. Thank you. The Sharon Academy has always had a fascinating relationship with the physical places and spaces it has occupied over the years. The solution to the school's growth has been a testimony to our collective creativity, flexibility, ingenuity, and perseverance. I'm going to offer a brief, and I hope somewhat lighthearted overview of that history to set up a more in-depth look at how this particular space evolved. Before I begin, let me say that none of this work, past or present, would have been possible without the help of literally countless individuals who made it a priority in numerous ways to help this school achieve its mission and vision. All of you in attendance today are absolutely essential to the school's success and its growth. Please know how much we appreciate you and respect you enormously for your extraordinary commitment to this school. TSA was founded in 1996 by Judy Moore. Judy began with 12 students, at least 3 of whom were her own, 2 of Janice's and 1 of mine, in a 6th through 8th grade middle school. Thanks in no small part to Sharon resident extraordinaire Jean Broadway, the school of 12 was able to enter into an agreement with the town and occupied 1 room in the old schoolhouse, the current location of our middle school. So just go back to '96. This school started in 1 room. Back in 1996, the building's occupants included a rug merchant, a real estate agent, and a purveyor of knickknacks. It was interesting. The school grew very quickly and rapidly displaced the various tenants of the old schoolhouse. The need for additional space was both apparent and somewhat desperate. Parents wanted Judy to continue on with the high school, and there were no available buildings in Sharon. So we branched out, so to speak. Our first foray was to create the TSA South campus in the basement of the town clerk's office across the driveway from the school. Next, we moved to TSA East, the church across the street, thanks in no small part to the minister there who just happened to be married to Judy. When those spaces couldn't sustain the school's growth, we spilled over into TSA West, otherwise known as the Vermont Law School. That was an adventure. Finally, 2 saviors emerged. TSA parent Blake Thompson, who was a surveyor, mentioned that a parcel of land owned by South Royalton dairy farmer David Ainsworth might be available. Then, a cornfield. The land had been a trotting racetrack back in the day, and a heck of a party spot for high school kids, judging by the number of beer cans we found. None of us on that initial hike up the hill from Route 14 on that fateful day to this spot will ever forget the moment we rounded the top of the hill and laid our eyes on this land. Phase 1 of our construction, which is the far wing of the building behind you, Phase 1 of the high school included the far wing and a gym. How TSA parent Kevin Ellis ever talked Judy Moore into building a tournament-sized basketball remains one of humankind's greatest unsolved mysteries. As soon as that first wing was completed, we were teaching up to 4 classes simultaneously in the gym with no soundproofing. We can't begin a discussion of the school's evolution without mentioning the incredible Jim Wick, who cannot be here tonight, who so masterfully oversaw all aspects of the school's growth for well over a decade. Phase 2 included the school's entryway, which we immediately used as a teaching space, and 4 adjacent classrooms. There still wasn't anywhere near enough space, so we taught in MASH-style army tents and outside on bleachers that we had constructed ourselves, which we somehow got away with for years. We hauled those bleachers in and out of the gym for home basketball games, and it was a hoot. They weighed a ton, and it took about 25 kids to lift each one. The story of the large snake slithering through a tent full of students studying Algebra 1 remains one of my TSA highlights. You can still practically hear them screaming. The yurts were then introduced in groups of 2, and that got us out of the more primitive tents and off the bleachers. And then phase 3 included Moore Hall, affectionately known as the pit, and the adjoining classrooms. The pit instantly became home for set construction for our interim programs. At no time during all of these construction phases was there enough space for the school to truly meet its pedagogical mission of supporting students with a hands-on education in a project-based environment. This compelling need drove the discussion for Phase 4. Discussions on this STEAM wing began in 2008, culminating ultimately in the building that you're in today. This new STEAM wing has the potential to unleash powerful new learning for our children and for our community. For the first time in our 29-year school history, the physical plant begins to meet the expectations outlined so many years ago. This space was designed to be shared by all. That will require flexibility, dexterity, hallmarks, as you have heard, frequently demonstrated by this school community. Now you may better understand why, when I first entered this space several months ago, I cried. But there's an interesting tension point here. We are here to celebrate a physical space when what is so obviously critical to all of us are personal relationships. This space never would have happened without those deep commitments and connections. In the end, it's all about connections that we make, and this feels like a rare opportunity to honor them. Thank you, all of you, for all your support of that.
So we have John Roe, former president of the Board of Trustees, project manager, human being extraordinaire.
So as you've heard, the early history of the school was a race to keep ahead of the need for more space. And I appreciate Michael's lightheartedness of it, but it was creating success out of sheer drive. And we can do it all for little or nothing, clearly became embedded in the culture. While it's been a long pause with the 4 yurts and a frustrated fire marshal, this project once again proves that Phoenix is an appropriate answer for TSA. It took 15 years of work to be here today with a constant mix, as you've been hearing, creativity, frugality, flexibility, intentionality, and the strong human relationships and connections. I'll start with Michael, since he just spoke. Everyone knows he's the human connector, but his realization that space plays a critical role to the social well-being of high school students may be under-recognized, unless you happen to serve on the building committee for a decade with him. Through all 6 serious design efforts with developed floor plans, he kept saying the halls were too narrow and straight. He insisted on wide halls with nooks and crannies in which to place a couch, or where eddies of passing students could pause and connect with each other. Halls are square feet that cost money, and usually they are necessarily designed basically to meet fire codes to get people out of a building. In this case, intentionality doesn't always equal frugality, but I challenge you to find another high school where the halls are designed to be just as important to school success as the classrooms. If you look beyond the obvious 4 walls of our new classrooms, you will also find spaces that are not typical of most schools. Usually classrooms are defined by function and serve as a specific teacher's real estate for a subject. Our design principle here was maximally flexible space to be shared among several teachers and subjects, possibly over the course of a single day, and which could evolve over time to meet needs. A large lab over there using mobile tables rather than fixed workstations, and a college-level vent hood, where a student might be monitoring a research-level science project while a science lecture class is being taught in the front, and a teacher is working in the prep room for the next class. 2 soundproof classrooms, 2 of the bigger ones, where tables and chairs are pushed to one end. There might be dance or music in one room, and verbal language practice or humanities play in another, taking place at the same time. And then later, in the same space, a science lecture classroom is set up, using projectors and marker pens simultaneously on projector-quality whiteboards. Those are not just whiteboards, they're projection screens also. And finally, the makerspace, what we're in right now. This is a large space with firewalls to be used by art and physics largely. Also interim, almost everything we do with our hands. Complete with a dark room for photography and optics. It's a place of possibilities limited only by imagination, with a set of high-quality tools available to all students. hopefully with a portable dust collector, a 3D printer, and maybe a CNC machine in the future. Also, a covered outdoor workspace, ideally a place for students to learn with their hands so they can also be successful in a lecture room. TSA has always incorporated hands-on participatory learning. That's what Interim Musical is all about. Building social skills, leadership, problem solving, and constructing sets. What is new for TSA is appropriate space for sophisticated work rather than making do. For example, often the hallways have included students building catapults for physics wars when the weather was bad. I knew these activities needed a home, but the real genesis of the makerspace was in Jim Wick's exceptionally well-equipped and organized shop at his house, where he led students in engineering projects to compete at UVM. I was a tag-along parent at the time. As you've heard, Jim was also the owner's rep for the prior construction stages of the existing school. He was also head of the 2009 Facilities Committee, and whether it's 2008, 2009, I don't know, we all find different dates, which were first designed for the board, which first designed the priorities for this new space. So thank you, Jim, who unfortunately couldn't be here, for how much you have shaped TSA. In your class have served us well, but the war in Ukraine had eliminated that supply chain. The answer turned out to be keeping true to our values as a community school by supporting local businesses. So a shout out to Ruben Sotak, I don't know if he's here or not, who has struggled with the long on-again, off-again aspects of this project, but who said yes when Mary and I came knocking this January and prepared a bid that was not only local, but very competitive with the few school suppliers dealing in real wood tables. So now we have the most gorgeous, rugged classroom tables you will ever see in a high school. Thank you, Ruben. And nothing gets built without financing. So I want to recognize actually two bankers and one other source. In a very real sense, one of the pinch points of this project, where it was go or no go, was a grant from the state through this something called the CRRP program, it's a community-based program. And so I just want to acknowledge the financing that they have provided to this project in the form of a grant. The other is Mascoma Bank, the community bank which was embraced this project at several levels. It provided affordable construction financing and also an early sizable donation from the Mascoma Bank Foundation. And also a special thanks to Mascoma's senior commercial loan officer, Eldon Doobie, who couldn't be here tonight, but who was a great project partner and who has had a working relationship with TSA dating from its inception. Our second bank, and now long-term partner, is USDA's Rural Development Program. Conventional mortgages and state-guaranteed loans all had interest rates too high for a successful project. I was trying to find the sweet spot of how much private fundraising was possible for TSA, what amount of new space met our minimum needs, all within the board's directive that TSA could not significantly increase the school's operating costs. Once I found that schools were eligible for low-interest loans from rural development, the project became a real possibility. Amazingly, our commitment letter captured within 0.25% the lowest loan rate ever provided by rural development. However, COVID played havoc with the project through ever-increasing costs, so dreams had to be reduced. In a very real sense, though, we would not have had a project without USDA's help. So I invite Kevin Lambert from Rural Development up for a few words.
Thank you very much for inviting me here to celebrate with you today. Thank you, President Swett, head of school Newman, Mr. Roe, Mr. Livingston, Judy, thank you for inviting me here today. Parents and teachers, esteemed stakeholders, and especially students of the Sharon Academy. Thank you very much. My name is Kevin Lambert, Public Affairs with USDA, Rural Development. Our agency is committed to improving the lives of rural residents through low-income home purchase and repair, crucial repairs, and this is a big deal in Vermont. As you know, going into the winter, if you're on a fixed income, it can be pretty expensive to replace your roof. We support small businesses, and we obviously provide essential community services like infrastructure, equipment, and facilities, wastewater systems, fire trucks, hospitals, and of course schools. These are my favorite events. I was here for the groundbreaking in August, Mary?
Yeah.
Because I get to interact with the kids. I am a youth mentor volunteer in my community in Moncton. I'm a basketball coach, a youth coach. I open the gym for the kids to come in 2 days a week just to get some shots up. Problem is, our ceiling is very low, so you can't practice your long distance shooting without taking out a ceiling tile. So I'm also spearheading a project to build a hard court recreation basketball court and pickleball court for our athletes in Moncton. And we're laying the pavement this June for that project. I'm very proud of it. So I dedicate this time as a volunteer working with kids because I realize as a homesteader, as someone who practices permaculture and grows a lot of food, that's my #1 accomplishment in life, is the food I put into my kids' bellies. Natural resources are so important in this state, and you know, it occurred to me working in the garden one day that you know, it's not our critters or our timbers or our rivers who are most important to us adults as a natural resource. It's you kids. And I have a daughter who just turned 13 yesterday, so I may get emotional here, but for people your age, Owen, Ava, Abe, talked to Abe earlier. He wants to explore educational opportunities outside of Vermont, and you know, people who grew up here, we understand that. We do. We get it. It is that strong, singular tugging of elsewhere. The desire to pitch your wits against the gears of that great machine. You know, you want to test yourself. Many of us took that first chance we got to walk away from this friendly, fertile place in search of something bigger. Some of us ran. We spent years and decades in faraway deserts, huge cities, and ocean beach towns, hanging our hats with satisfaction in foreign lands, basking in the freedom of our own geographical choices. There is nothing wrong with wanting to see and be in another part of the world. So see and be in it. Represent our verdant little wedge with the strength and independence and smarts that describe our founders and friends and future leaders. Engage the world in its full range of colors and contrasts, behold its beauty and ugliness, its triumphs and torments, indulge its adventures, and defy its dualities to define you. Then, please come back. We value your minds, muscle, and not on my watch defiance of what doesn't work. We admire your courage and dedication to creating a level playing field where society's maligned can flourish. We love your creativity, friendship, and compassion, and if you sincerely want to make a positive impact with all those attributes, there's no better place to live than right here. Behold, this beautiful testament to teamwork and community spirit that we are in right now. Our small population allows you to significantly and directly influence local projects and policy making. Now, you didn't come here today thinking the government god is going to show you a guilt trip. But here it is. So, but eventually, as our wanderlust wore away, we adults who didn't think Vermont had what we wanted in this life, we looked back at where we had come from and realized something wasn't right where we found ourselves. Even the dazzling lights illuminating the possibility of the night, and a Starbucks and Whole Foods on every corner, and the siren call of the sun-kissed, salt-kissed cuisine of the ocean. Nothing could make that feeling go away. Despite it all, something was missing. It's called Vermont. There's no place like home. It is my honor to celebrate this magnificent new center of learning with you, the unique place that made it possible. Thank you.
Something that I've waited a long time to be able to do, which is I now want to thank all of the donors to this project. Your collective $1.3 million of generous gifts of all sizes, and the USDA's $1.9 million mortgage loan for 35 years at 2.25%. They've combined to create something truly amazing. This incredible 5,000 square foot addition to the high school has been completed with essentially no increase in our monthly mortgage cost. Let that sink in. Once again, the TSA community has completed the seemingly impossible. Thank you to all of you. I want to close with a story about Ken Wright. Wins. I now consider him a personal good friend, and he has always been TSA's exceptional friend. I can attest that he is the most amazing person to have as a partner to solve problems with. First, he seriously listens to ideas. For example, radiant ceiling heat, which is above you, is common in Europe. But here it's considered a specialty item with limited use. I thought it was perfect. Ken was skeptical at first, but he did research and even found a Massachusetts company installing it. Radiant heat is perfect for a school because the actual use of the building is concentrated into a relatively small part of the day. It doesn't have to run all night. Just a bit before the first class, the radiant heat from above heats one's head and shoulders and the tabletop and not the air. Yet one feels warm. Same principle as the sun or a bonfire, and it's very efficient. In the long run, you can be carbon neutral by installing solar panels on the gym to power air-to-water heat pumps that will heat the hot water in the ceiling. Ken's superpower is to mentally take apart the obvious and find a cheaper solution that no one would think possible. Moving yurts was a simple problem. Just build 2 runners under each deck, saw off the post supporting gear, and off you go, pulled by a tractor. That was $12,000 under budget. But 2 other examples are at the superpower level. We saved tens of thousands of dollars because we have a sprinkler system partially run by gravity. Ken's idea. However, my favorite memory of Ken's insights in this project is the meeting where we discussed the cost estimates of getting the new restrooms wastewater to the septic system out near the playing fields. Grinders, pumps, pipes going over hill and dale inside the buildings, you get the idea. Ken took one look at that and said, let's just put in a new septic system for the addition. We have all this perfect sand. Everyone was quite dubious of that being a practical solution. But yes, it was possible. It was cheaper, with no operating costs, and in hindsight, allowed us to create a separate building when needed cost reduction forced us to create a separate building with minimal design changes. Ken was right, as he always is, almost without fail. I say almost. Because I did not allow him to roof over the skylight. Please come up here, Ken. Ken is going to, if you know the older building, there are plaques around that people have contributed to the school over time. Ken will have a plaque underneath that skyline. I only have a mock-up today of that plaque, unfortunately. So it says Ken Wright. Ken Wright, thank you for shining your bright light on all. I will pass the mic on to Mary, who will moderate a discussion with the students, teachers, and you about the future. There are no limits to what this building will make possible for the school, the students, and the community. I know because just before COVID, a student sought me out to see if this makerspace here would be big enough for her to build a planetarium. She gave me the dimensions she needed. I was stunned. It was big enough, just not possible soon enough. What I would give to be able to sit in that planetarium.
John, you can't stand over there yet. Come back over here. Tanya and I have something to present to you. But I'm not going to be the one speaking because I will cry too hard. Okay.
John. So, as as is abundantly clear to everyone here from John's remarks about the details of the project, well, I am the lucky board president who gets to formally celebrate this moment. It is not me, it's you, John, who got us to this place. You heard from John about many people who are important in various ways to the completion of this project. And their contributions are incredibly significant, as are the countless ways that you all supported this project. But we need to pause and specifically recognize John Roe. It is not an exaggeration to say that this building would not, could not have happened without him. John's commitment to this project has been nothing short of extraordinary. During his time as board chair and long after he stepped down, he has worked tirelessly. Over all those years, as the designs and iterations changed, what John has always seen as the heart of this project is the space we're standing in right now, what we refer to as the maker space. It's the place of endless possibilities, where students can create and imagine and build and dream. And as John said, it is the space that he has always been most excited about. With this in mind, and with boundless gratitude to John, we want to share with him and with all of you that this space will be formally known as the Roe Maker Space. This is first and foremost to honor John, but it's also to recognize his family. When someone is as committed to a project as John has been, it really takes a whole family's commitment and sacrifice. We recognize that, and we thank Catherine, Sophie, and Evan, and John. We hope when you see this plaque, you will be reminded of our gratitude to you, which is truly beyond measure. It says Roe Maker Space in recognition of John's exceptional commitment to the Sharon Academy and with gratitude to the entire Roe family for their steadfast support. You know, we talked about creativity and flexibility. It didn't quite arrive in time. It's coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Lots of people did this, but I really appreciate it.
I need some tissues. So, now we're going to change things up a little bit, and I'm going to welcome a group of people who span a wide range of time at TSA, but all of whom bring an incredibly thoughtful, positive energy to school on a daily basis. Here to talk about what this space means for them and for the school as a whole, now and into the future, are, come on up when you're called, math and physics teacher Steve Basham, director of visual arts Laura DiCapua, math teacher and marketing guru Victor Milligan, 11th grade Ava Lacalade, and 10th grader Owen Brackett. So come on up. Just a second. So I'm going to ask Steve, Laura, Victor, Ava, and Owen And after about 10 or 15 minutes, depending on how things go, I'll see if you all have any questions for them that you'd like to ask before we close the formal program and go and eat more and drink more and talk more. So, we're going to start with Steve. There you are, okay. Remember, I really do need tissues. Remember where John left off with that planetarium idea? Will you, Steve Basham, talk more about where that idea came from, since you were one of Lila's favorite teachers and mentor?
Yeah, so one of the questions we are going to talk about is like how this space can be used, and I think this is a perfect example of something that's already part of the program, which is the exhibition program. It's something that juniors do every year, research project and present. That, how long ago, 5, 6 years ago, maybe got expanded to include capstone options, so the seniors could choose their own projects that weren't necessarily just a stand and deliver thesis defense. And Lila, who's a unique student in that she took physics with me, I think, both freshman and sophomore years. And then as a senior was doing a Dartmouth physics class, I was wondering what she should do for her exhibition project that she wanted to do. So I was her mentor that year, and just happened to find these plans in, I think it was American Journal of Physics, had this portable planetarium. And so I shared the article with her, and she was immediately interested. In fact, her plan was to not just build the structure, which is like a geodesic dome. She'd have to scale down the plans for this space, and so she'd already come up with like how to improve upon the design that was in the paper. But then also to teach a lesson, like an astronomy lesson, using the thing. So I just think that that type of project and having this space available to do it, because she would have had to build it pretty much at home. She did have the space for that. It's pretty exciting that to see what students will use this space for, because that was going to support not just her learning, but also support the school. Like it would have been something that I could have used for class in the years to come. So there's one example I think is worth sharing.
We're going to get rid of the stand. Okay, that's better. Okay, so one of the questions that this group has been pondering in order to sort of illuminate the possibilities of the space is, from your perspective, what is the immense potential of this space? And if you don't know the Sharon Academy mission statement, you should memorize it. It has the words immense potential. Someone's answering this one. Yeah, okay, we'll should start with Victor. Okay, go.
Hi guys. I don't have a whole lot, but I really think that the immense potential of this space, the entire building, the Sharon Academy in general, is just the flexibility. Like, we could do any activity in any of these rooms with the space that we wanted to, and we could make anything happen. From like Steve's physics wars or more intense chemistry in there. Yeah.
So I came here this year from the corporate world. And in the corporate world, we are looking at a very complex, increasingly complex world as we're seeing. And we're also looking at the use of AI taking a larger role in all of our lives. And for me, this space is all about breaking things. And it's about breaking convention. It's about using creativity to upend what we see as the pattern, to see it so differently that it is unrecognizable again, and we solve it so differently. We're going to need those tools and the science and the rigor to deliver that. And I already see that now. We have in math, we've run projects and individualized projects. And just to get a sampling of what the kids have invented in short order is a blast radius for YR24 in terms of what will it really do if it does indeed hit the Earth. We have a what happens when the sun turns into a black hole. And we have the rebalancing of women's and men's sports franchises. Such a wide array of ideas, and they're all breaking the idea of just following the problem as they see it. And I just love the idea of this space breaking.
So another question, and all of them are related and connected, but another question that we've been talking about is what could you see students doing in this space? Or another one is, what kinds of assignments, and Victor already started talking about this, do you think will now be possible in this space? Who has thoughts about this one?
I don't know.
Let's go.
Okay, so I have it written down. About 4 years ago, I left a large public school and came to TSA, and with leaving a big school, I did have to give up some opportunities that I knew I wouldn't get here, like AP classes and kind of more, not your basic 5 core classes. However, with this, okay, sorry. With this new space and its immense potential, students are given room to explore their options, literally, figuratively, and literally. And I personally believe that the goal of TSA is to prepare students for life after high school. And this space opens up so many doors for students. To list a few that I've kind of cluttered from other students is home ec and cooking, and we've been talking about learning how to maintain a good, clean car that you aren't taught in driver's ed. And I mean, the possibilities are endless, really. The list goes on forever.
So I'm a little bit of a dinosaur, and I've been here for a very long time, and I think still one of the most important things that a space can give with people like Steve and Mary and other teachers, where is everybody? Stephanie and Kaylee and Maria, Christina and Spike, thank you. I'm a dinosaur, I can't see you. Is providing a place for curiosity. And that's what I mean by me being a dinosaur. Yes, there's AI, there's all kinds of wonderful things out there, but I still fully believe getting our hands dirty, throwing paint around, and allowing kids the time and the space with some materials to really foster curiosity is like what perhaps a space can give us, but it's like the people in here who are also allowing for that. So one thing that I wrote down for an assignment to happen, I wanted to fulfill it, was to change the space into a camera. And I know Steve has done that in his classroom before. It's called a camera obscura. You can black out all of the windows and put a tiny little pinhole, and you can turn the space into a camera. So Steve and I collaborated on that a while ago, and I kept thinking, wow, it happened too quickly. Probably not everybody got a chance to just like linger and be in that space. And that is what I see this space as, a place that things get to exist a little bit longer instead of having to like clean up. We can have projects like half done in the corner. That might make some people cringe a little, but like I get excited by that because then there's collaboration. You can walk by it and say, wait a minute, what's this? And go find the artist or go find a scientist. So it's a space, but it's the people that are really going to drive the space.
I'm just reminded of this quote that stuck with me at the beginning of, I won't remember it verbatim, but the gist of it you'll get. It's at the beginning of Isaac Newton biography, written by James Glick. And the quote is something like this. I asked him where he got his tools, and he said he made them. And that quote, in describing Newton and all the things like he made to make his discoveries, is one of the values I try to like incorporate into my classroom. So things I've done in the past, like with bridge building projects, for example, is like students actually build like the apparatus that they're going to test it with. So I'm very kind of like my mentor teacher says a hardware store physics kind of. We don't not usually part of that's the frugality, but it's also I think there's real value in not just like being able to use the instruments, but having made them yourself. Obviously, that's not possible to do with all sorts of things, but when possible, I think there's real value to that. Mm-hmm. So I can see that is much more a possibility in this space.
Yeah, no.
So the first quiz I put out in math, I got it back, and there was more doodles than answers. And it sort of caught me by surprise. But what was stunning was the doodles. They were just exquisite, and they were so varied. It was just amazing. And so one of the things we're going to do in this space is we're going to have a doodle fest. And what we're going to do is bring all the students together, give them sort of prescribed things to do, and then bring all the art to life. And the art will be used for marketing, different purposes for TSA. Some of the examples are, different uses of the golden ratio. There's an example of actually building a shell for math derivatives and other types of things. So people have already started applying really amazing creativity to this. And we're going to sit and lie on the floor with paper and just produce a ton of art and see how it goes. And hopefully the quiz will have more answers than doodles.
So another question is, what do you think, or what do you know, Ava and Noan, because I'm going to hand the microphone over to you, students want/need to learn in school these days? And what I'm really insinuating is that the world is changing incredibly rapidly, and we need to spend more time listening to students tell us what they think they need to navigate the world they're going into. So I know you've given this a little bit of thought, but if you could start by speaking to that question of like, what do you need to know, and how can that happen here?
Yeah, so I'm a junior, and I'm right now thinking about life after high school, and it's a scary world out there. And I think it's really important to prepare high schoolers for being on your own, living in a world when you're by yourself, not always, but for the most part, kind of just understanding that it's a whole new aspect of life. And people in my class have been pushing for home ec. We're like, oh, we want to cook, we want to learn how to meal plan, we want to learn how to make sure we eat healthy, and even though the college food is all available and it's usually not that healthy for you. So just finding, like, taking the time to really think about what am I going to do after high school, and finding ways to put it into practice now is really important for us, I think.
Yeah, and on the note of like home ec and stuff that this space gives us, I wanted to do like an engineering class and thinking about stuff like that, like the learning how to change your oil or change a tire is stuff that I feel like kids need to learn. And like I've talked to my dad a lot about how it was like when he was a kid and how they had like shop and home ec and all these things, and I think that like this space is going to allow us to start doing more of those types of classes.
Can you say a little bit more about engineering?
What do you mean?
Just
What?
what you wanted.
I want to become an astronaut, and I want to go into that type of field, and we don't have
Thank you.
we don't have that here right now, and I think that having this space and having this ability is something I want personally.
Any thoughts on that question? Okay, right. So the last couple of questions are related, and they are about how this space can be used by more than just the immediate TSA community. Why and in what ways should we expand the use of this space to include the wider community? And this is another plug for the posters around the space that ask for your ideas for how we can use this space and how we can connect that use with other people. So, yeah, go.
Well, the why is because we're better together, and being inclusive and being open and welcoming makes our community 1,000% better. That's the why. And ideas, we did this staff in service where many of us wrote down a bazillion ideas, just gleaning from that. Ideas are, workshops, bringing in artists, bringing in other maybe engineer professionals who can come in and teach some of your classes. Seminars, summer institutes, it opens things up, bringing in community art shows.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of math, I mean, in terms of, I'm running a marketing elective, and we want to bring in how marketers out there are facing the world, the changing world. And one of the things we're doing, Ross, I'm going to just basically talk to our conversation today, is Ross is going to come in and actually talk. He's a very seasoned professional, but also runs a coffee company. And some key questions of what do the financials look like? How do you handle tariffs? How do you handle that kind of stuff? I mean, really practical stuff that the kids will see in the news in a very indirect way. Or how does it feel directly? What does it really mean? And I want to give that practical view of the world outside.
So this is a couple days ago, maybe. Yeah, I went into Mary's office and I was like, I have an idea and I want to pitch it to you. And so my goal for this summer is to teach a girls empowerment dance class to girls ages 9 through 13, and I want to host it in this space. I think it's really important. I love to dance. I'm the choreographer for the show of Interim. And I want to share my love of dance to the younger female community and encourage the growth of girlhood, especially in the world we live in. And I think it's really important to love yourself and be confident in your body. And I really think that's part of TSA as well, as this is a safe space. It's a very connected, tight-knit community, and it also recruits, so. But I think it's really important to have this space open year-round because it's beautiful. I mean, the wood is amazing, and it's just such a gift for people.
In the realm of science, could be like collaborating with Dartmouth, for example, bringing people here for a variety of things. I could see like longitudinal studies happening with like community, like scientists in the community. I mean, I'm not a biologist or like ecologist, it's not my field, but there's like, coupled with like the woods we have, and I know there's already in the environmental science class things going on using that space, but potential to bring in other people to do that. I could see like longitudinal studies of, actually one of the books that Lila was looking at before settling on that dome project was just like replicating like early astronomy type projects. So again, you build your own tools. What's that called? Like the theodolite? Is that what it's called? The surveyors use? It's like a way to measure like. So you build one of those and then you use that to like track stars, track planets, stuff like that. So I could see like inviting community members here for nights like that. And yeah, things that would take like a long time but would be thinking outside like the year-long class to more of a years-long projects I think could be possible.
You all have been sitting and listening for a very long time, standing, many of you standing, because you won't sit in the front row. Who has questions while we've got these folks up here? Or are there any questions? Thoughts, ideas you'd like to just put into the universe, because you know what happens when you do that. Steve Farrington, thank you for raising your hand.
Can I come up? Yeah.
Steve is on our board of trustees. He's an alumni parent, an engineer. He does robots.
Something I'm thinking about that ties together a lot of what I've been hearing here and the TSA mission, fundamentals. I happen to have the privilege of being the lead coach mentor of a first robotics team that's a community team in Bethel. We have a space over there. It's a bigger space. Yeah, we can try robots, we can throw things in the air. But what it lacks is, let me tell you a little bit about robotics. First of all, that team was founded by a couple of TSA people. Kimberly Barnhart, whom I saw here earlier, and Melissa, and they recruited me to be the coach, and it's been going since 2018. And what we do is hands-on STEM education, and that means you learn a new game every year in January, and you have 6 weeks to build a robot to play the game. And the game changes every year, so you have no experience in the game. And you have to analyze the game, and you have to figure out the strategy, and you have to figure out what you want your robot to do to best play your most strategic aspect of the game, because it's usually very complicated. And then you get to build it. And it combines engineering, teamwork, math, physics, control theory, programming, all sorts of things, and the kids do all the work. This would be a great space for that, not because it's higher or bigger, we have a lot of stuff, but because it's in a school setting where kids can come in and see exactly what Laura was talking about with a half-finished project, because the truth of the matter is, as Jeremy, our extraordinary coding mentor, can tell you, the robot is about 10% built until 1 week before your first competition, and then it goes to 90%. So they won't ever see it half done, unless they're here for like 2 minutes. But the thing that it also adds is resilience, because you build this thing with some idea of how you're going to play this game that you've never played before. And you go to the first competition with it half-baked, and the code isn't done because you didn't give the coders enough time after we built it. And you fall on your face, and you get your clock cleaned, frankly. But what the kids take away from that is the spirit that we're learning here, and we're going to take these lessons, and we're going to go back, because we have another shot at it, another couple of weeks from now, and we're going to incorporate all that, and we're going to come back stronger than we went in the first time. And I just think it would be a great space to have that where kids can come into the space for other purposes and see that activity going on and be drawn to that and participate in it. And we do have students from Woodstock, from here, from White River Valley, from Randolph, and sometimes from Hartford. And it also brings together community, brings together kids from different schools. They get to see how each other operate, and honestly, it generates a lot of respect for TSA among the students from the other schools that who see how we run the team. Anyway, I'll stop yammering about that.
One of the things that, as you know, I've been talking with the people about what the technology is going to need to be in this building and how this building might function. I'm Carl, I'm the tech guy. The thing that I think, and I've heard and I'm hearing now, that I think is amazing, is so much of learning that happens generationally, happens by sharing, happens by a grandfather teaching a child how to whittle, happens by doing non-school or non-traditional learning. And I really think, as Steve was saying, that having this as a place where a community can come in and can find some tools and can pass on some of these skills and some of these talents and some of this learning that used to happen in community events, in Grange halls, in church church programs, in those sorts of other activities that have kind of fallen away in many ways from a lot of the ways that we connect now. And I really feel like opening this to the community and bringing it up as a space where people can come in and share their skills, I think is going to broaden the community rather than necessarily close it or silo it. And I really think that I'm just so proud to be part of the team that made this thing happen and made this group stronger, and I think it's going to make our institution stronger. So thank you all.
Do you all have thoughts that you had hoped to say today that you haven't yet said?
I'll just say one thing I was talking to Rob about today was the fact that we have more space to do more things. And I know this thought has been talked about so much today, but in the chemistry lab, we can go from having class and learning class to transitioning to the backside of the room and do the actual like chemical reactions and stuff. And so like I just think that having this space is the biggest thing about this building. Yeah.
I feel like that's a good place. Having the space, as said by Owen Brackett. So you can stay here. I'm just going to say a few closing words. Tanya and I will shut this thing down, yeah? So, as I said, we would really love to hear from you about your ideas for what could happen here while you've been listening or 3 weeks from now. My cards are on the table, so when you are in the shower and you suddenly realize that you have a connection with hypertherm that we should know about, you email me, yes? You'll see that lots of the ideas that have already been generated by students and staff are on the posters, so hopefully they will inspire further thinking. I'm going to hand this over to Tanya, and then we'll close out. Yeah? Okay.
I think we've pretty much covered it and more, but I just want to say that I really feel in this moment that the existence of this space is such a clear example to me of what happens when a community comes together with vision and creativity and patience and perseverance. So thank you all for being part of that, and thank you for being here tonight. Your presence makes it real. Yeah. It really does. So I hope you'll stick around and enjoy each other's company, and thank you again for being here. Yeah.